Okay, what's your P's and Q's?
Hell yeah.
Okay, good evening. This is Doug Sealer, the NLCQ, the TDXS Secretary / Treasurer. A few little items to talk about before we get into the program. I'm sure everyone's waiting for the program, but I recognize we have a new member the day after our last monthly meeting. In fact, number 248, Chris Lupins joined KG5 BBF. He's in Houston, down in Swellsville, there by the Mid Center. And in fact, he said today on our little lunch get together that he's got about 105 countries worked in, I think about 97 confirmed. So he's just that far away from getting his DXCC. So
All right.
yeah, how about that? So that brings us up to 49 active members. Next item is the Texas QSO party. That's only a month away. It's only a month away. September 17th and 18th. And I'm not going to go through all the details. You can find them. Just go to the website, txqp.net. And everything's pretty much the same as it has been in the past years. But see if we get some more people to come out and go out and do some roaming. Next item I've got on here is the future of the Texas DX Society. And this is a recurring theme we have. It just seems to be shrinking and shrinking, which is really not that unusual for a long-standing club. But I look back for the attendance this year, and the average about 12 people. I think the lowest we had was 7, and the highest we had was about what was it, 17. So considering we've got over twice that, or over 4 times that many members, we should have a better attendance than we do. And of course, we currently have no president, no VP of programs, no DX chairman, and I'm secretary and treasurer now because we had to combine that after the treasurer chose not to run again. So, and we current officers and contributors have served for many years. I mean, Alan, you've been doing what, 10 plus years on the bullsheet?
10 years now.
Yeah, I think I'm in my 8th year as secretary. Before that was 3 years as president and 2 years for bullsheet. So that's out of 16 years total. So in the club. So we need some fresh blood. We need some fresh blood. We need programs. We need bullshit contributions. We need participation. So I'm still at a loss how to get it. Alan's got a good idea. I think we're going to make personalized mail outs to each active member saying, get off your butt and do something. Doesn't matter if you've done something before. It's probably 20 years ago. So your time to come on again. So.
And maybe some non-currently active members who might be, willing to rejoin. So we just have to look at all members.
Yeah, look at individual cases. Any other comments on anything there so far?
Anybody got any ideas?
Oh, just a couple of comments. In the past, when I was president, I sent out several invitations directly to people. Got a few responses, but not anything significant. Still worth a try. Not trying to discourage it. There is an article in QST, I believe it's this month's QST, on this very topic. It discusses some ideas, some approaches that might be relevant to regenerating a club.
Yeah, I haven't gotten this month's QST yet, so I'll take a look when I get it.
I'll check and see which edition it. Yeah, I guess I don't know what edition it is. It's laying in there on my desk. I'll find out what edition it is and send out an email on the reflector regarding that. So.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we could pay people to be members.
Well, for a while until our treasury ran dry.
Well, I'd say the board of directors ought to get premium pay.
Yeah, I think we ought to double our pay.
Mm-hmm.
Since I've got 2 jobs now.
There you go.
And almost 3 jobs because there's no president. So.
And there ought to be a 10-year bonus.
Yeah, maybe a company car.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, anyway. We got to do something, guys, or our next option is to liquidate the club, which I don't want to have to contemplate.
Happy to step up and do something once BVARC lets me off the hook, but I'm working two board positions there right now as well.
Well, BVARC is in the similar condition, you know, this BVARC and TDXS started around the same time.
Yeah.
And you have a larger membership and a deeper pool to draw from, but still a lot of people just sit back and enjoy without contributing anything, unfortunately.
That is absolutely an ongoing issue. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many years has your president been in charge?
20 or so at this
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, Marty, was it AG5T? He sent me an email, said he's been president of Echo for 20 years now.
Hmm.
That's sad.
That's
Shouldn't be laughing.
yeah. So it's not unique to us.
Bunch of lazy bums. Oh, I didn't say that.
And we got one more item on here. Our current trustee for K5DX is Orville. And Orville is thinking of handing that off to somebody else. Do you want to mention anything about that, Orville?
Well, actually, due to health reasons, I was somewhat concerned about my being able to transfer the trusteeship to someone else, were I to become unable to do so. And it's quite easy at this point in time, where I am rational, quote unquote, and able to sign the papers and everything else. You just send it off to the ARRL, and they handle it. It's a no-fee transfer.
Is it a possibility to have like a dual trusteeship? So you have a trustee in training and not just have a single?
I don't believe that's the case.
Hmm.
They've got some weird rules about being a trustee.
Orville, is it the ARRL or is it the FCC?
ARRL actually handles it for the FCC.
Okay.
They're the de facto people that do the licensing. So you just sign the papers and send it to the ARRL. And next thing you know, you've got a license from the FCC.
Okay.
This occurred about the time Steve K9DX moved up to Illinois, and they didn't want to have the TDXS call sign per se, K5DX, out of the Houston area. So I agreed to do so, and it's very, very little work to be done. But the only thing that occurs is occasionally when the Texas QSO party operates and someone uses the call, all of a sudden I get an influx of QSO party, which is not a big deal.
Yeah.
What duties does the trustee have relative to the repeater or repeaters?
That we've had the repeaters up and running for years. I believe there's a committee that handles the the appropriation of the frequencies, but I have really been having any problem with that.
And-
But you are the trustee. You are the trustee for that as well, right?
I believe so, yes.
So, Alan, you interested in that?
No, I can't actually, because I'm already trustee for another club,
Oh, that's right, your Alaska Pseudo Club.
KL5DX, which I chose specifically.
Museum ships, so can't do it either.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll volunteer for that if we need somebody.
Appreciate that, Roby.
I would have been happy to take it, but I can't. But you cannot be trustee for two clubs.
Huh.
I've got all the paperwork in a file folder. I'll get with you, Roby.
Well, why don't we do this since we're looking for activities? Maybe one Saturday we can meet over there somewhere on the west, from the central to the western side of town, and have either a brunch or a lunch at some restaurant, and we can pass that folder over at that time.
What was the name of that place off of, was it Airport or something, West Airport? Carter Country or something? No.
The one that was so loud,
Yeah, it was pretty loud.
Kelly's.
Kelly's, okay.
Food was great, but you couldn't hear each other talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Food is great at Kelly's.
So Orville and I have had lunch a couple of times at Red River, which is a barbecue place.
Oh yeah, that's a good place.
So that would also be a candidate. It's not for breakfast, but it would be a lunch.
Yeah.
They've got Red River's only got 2 or maybe 3 locations, one being in Lake City by you, Roby, and the other one being on Mason in Katy
Mm.
that I'm aware of.
But we had we had lunch. I don't know if it's once or twice that you and I've got together for lunch at the one on Mason.
Yeah. Good food.
Oh yeah, and it's big enough so that it's, if you're not a big group, or not a real big group of people, you can kind of sit close enough together to chat, and then you have a lot of choices about what you eat. So it's a good place.
What's that called? Red River?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Orville, what was that place where you and I ate and we had a club meeting there under 99 over there?
That was a barbecue place at 99 and I-10.
Oh yeah.
It's called
Houston or Harris County.
Harris
Barbecue.
County Barbecue or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I actually like Red River better.
Yeah. Last time I county line or whatever they call themselves, the prices had gone up substantially.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'd be willing to do that, to have a brunch or something on a Saturday. And in fact, we could do like, I think we did this last year, have that as a substitute for a monthly meeting.
Mhm.
I think next month is supposed to be according to the schedule, our social get together.
Beats Luby's.
Yeah.
which ain't bad, but
Which
you
ain't
know.
bad. I'd have to say I miss Libby's.
yeah. Is that what closed down now? It was on Westheimer?
I believe so. They have a few still around town, I think, but I think that one on West Center, whatever it was called.
Yeah, well,
Where's that?
in Katy here.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's still open.
Yeah, the Luby's on Westheimer is, I was there, maybe 2 weeks ago, but not for breakfast.
Hmm.
So it's still open.
Oh, that's good to know.
The Libby's on West Airport and Mason Road, I think it is, not Mason Road. But anyway, West Airport is still open. A group of the guys from the club are meeting at noon on Wednesdays at that point. Not, I beg your pardon, at 11 a.m. and having lunch together, but they're still open.
So to me, it seems that our Thursday night, I mean, like tonight, and particularly whenever we were trying to meet at the Tracy G Center with everybody's age and vision declining, and a lot of people didn't participate because they couldn't drive or I'll say couldn't drive, but didn't choose to drive.
Mhm.
So maybe moving something to Saturday, like you say, brunch or in the afternoon or lunch would be we'd stand a better chance of getting participants because I mean, more people just be willing to make the trip.
Yeah, because traffic on Westheimer and then in that area in the evening on a weekday is awful. People hate going down there. I can understand.
Well, maybe we could do something like on the 10th, Saturday, the 10th of September.
Yeah.
That'd be okay with me.
Yeah, I've got
Haven't
something
looked-
on the 17th is the QSO party. I've got something on the 24th, so the 10th would be okay.
Let's just go ahead and do it.
Okay, what's the name of the place and just send out the announcement.
Red River Barbecue.
Red River Barbecue on Mason and Katy.
Yeah.
Right?
Hold on, I'll give you the address.
Okay. Still hearing some rumbling out there.
Okay, it's Red River Barbecue and Grill at 1711 South Mason Road in Katy.
Okay.
Very close to the intersection of Mason and Highland Knoll.
Okay. Well, Mr. Garmin will find that.
I'm sorry?
I said, Mr. Garmin will find that for me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to find.
Yeah, it's right on the right-hand side as you're going north. If you happen to come up the West Park Tollway. They've got a website, redriverbarbecue.com.
What would be a good time? 11:30?
Huh.
I'd be up by then.
If you would like, I will contact them and see about putting some tables together. But I mean, they seem to have done that in the past. As I remember, Roby wasn't there a birthday party or something? One time we were there.
Okay, well, we've been to both of them, and the one down near me has a separate room that they put parties in. And I don't remember about the one on Mason, if it has that or has the similar configuration. I know it's not shaped, the building's not shaped the same. I'm not sure it has a separate room though, but they do have lots of tables out together in the middle of the floor. So I think that would be a possibility. Putting 3 or 4 tables together for a group would be a definite possibility, I would think.
Okay, Orville, will you then pursue that? And
I will put that on the to-do list.
okay, cool. Okay, well, any other items of business before we get into the program? Well, take it away, Alan. I mean, you could start
Okay,
with
well, this is not really going to have much structure, and
that's what we
I
like.
went I went through all my files trying to find pictures, which I'm terribly was terribly lax in taking pictures, and even worse in retaining what pictures I took. So I'll show you a few pictures that I have of some of my travels from here and there. So this is when I was in Russia, in Siberia. Can you all see my the screen all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So these are the 2 Vlads. I was actually working near a town called Kosovo in Langipas, Khanty-Mansi, Siberia, Western Siberia. Working on a pipeline project, the fire and gas system on a couple of pumping stations and compressor stations. The interesting thing was that after the project was started, and I was working for a company called Solar Turbines, a division of Caterpillar. They canceled the pipeline, but we still had a contract to build the pumping and compressor stations. So by God, we're going to build them, even though there was no gas to power them and no gas to pump. So kind of interesting. But I made 4 trips over there. I think the first one was was in the summer, right after July 4th, and it was so far north. I mean, I'd never been that far north before in my life. I couldn't believe how long the days were. It was even further north than Anchorage, and or maybe pretty close to Anchorage. Now I've been even further north than that since, but on the north slope of Alaska. But it was pretty incredible. So anyhow, I just want to show you, and I'm going to take you through a few pictures. We're probably going to go back and forth on some of these pictures. This is the guy at the bottom. I actually have to look at my card here. That's RA9JP, and this is his station in his flat. He has since passed away.
Is that an ICOM rig?
That's an ICOM radio. I'm not sure what this stuff is, but he's also got an Ameritron amplifier. Wait till you see his antennas in a few minutes. That's actually his club call, RK9JWV, which I used to work all the time. But like I say, this Vlad, which is RW9QW, or was at the time, he told me it was probably 10 years ago. I met up with him on the radio somewhere, and he told me that this Vlad had died, passed away. So as you can see, this is almost exactly 20 years ago when I was over there. You can see I got a little bit more hair on top, a little bit more meat. But I worked this Vlad here a couple of months ago. He had an R9 call now, or he has an R9 call. He's retired. And he remembered me. Of course, I didn't know him with his R9 call, but he remembered me and said hello and gave me his old call. And it was interesting that he remembered me and my call after all these years. But we had a great time. These guys didn't speak much English, but they were CW contesters. So what the hell? Why do we need to talk, right? And I was over there over a couple of CW contest weekends. And so I spent the night, a couple of nights in Vlad's flat, and we had great fun. We drank a lot of beer and a lot of vodka, operated a bunch, I probably made with my call, and I used my call, which I did get a license in Russia, and my call was R9/N5XZ. And I probably made, 3, 4, 5,000 QSOs overall. And I still occasionally get cards, either direct or through the Bureau. I still got a ton of cards left. So if anyone needs an R9 card for anywhere from 630 meters through microwave, I've got some for sale. So I'll take you through a few pictures here. There's a little bit more information on his station, or another view of his station. I'm drinking some beer that they served me. And there's, you can see is a Meritron amplifier, old style computers. I don't know what this is right here. Might be a big amp for all I know. I just don't remember. But we had a great time. Had a lot of fun. Washing machine. That's what the bathrooms look like over there. The tub, and this is swivel mount. This is swivel. So in order to get water in the tub or into the sink, you just swivel that thing around. So some trucks that were out there. Hold on, let me go back the other direction here. So there's one of his antennas. Now you can see it's on a big, tall crank up tower, and it's actually on top of this building. This is I guess it's another apartment complex. And there's his quad. I can't rotate these pictures, I'm sorry. 40-meter beam, 20-meter, I think, monobander. Another view of some of his antennas. Now this, like I say, is actually on another building, and all his cables actually went out of that room that I showed you before onto a kind of a patio, or a balcony rather, and were hung over the courtyard. It probably was at least 100, 150 feet over to here. I don't see the cables, so I don't remember where they went exactly, but they actually were just hung out over the, so I don't know what stroke he had to get the towers, to mount the towers, and be able to run these cables over the courtyard. He must have had some stroke over there to be able to do all that. And of course, you can see the hideous colors that they paint things over there. It's terrible. There, now you can see all three antennas. And I don't remember what that is, but anyhow, that was pretty interesting. And he had a great signal into the States. With that amplifier and these big antennas, he had a great signal. Here's a few other pictures of the area. He was in a town called Langipas, and Langipas was about 30 clicks away from Kosovo. Kosovo was located just off of the Ob River. And I may have a few pictures somewhere. I don't even remember who that guy is. This is just some sites that I saw over there. I can't remember who that guy is. Oh, well. So this is the Ob River right here.
That's in Northwest Siberia?
Yeah. It's in Khanty-Mansi, Siberia. And here I am with Vlad number 2. And when it's summer or when it's warm, the water flows, obviously, and is actually a pontoon bridge that goes. Oh wait, I take that back. I'm wrong with that. I'm wrong. To go across the river, you have to take a ferry. So during the summer, when the river is flowing, you take a ferry. In the winter, this entire river, which you can see is pretty large, is frozen solid. And I was over there during the winter as well. And for a southern boy like me to drive over a river, now that was a new experience. I know I've got some pictures somewhere. I don't know if I'll ever be able to find them, but this is one of the ferries that we took. Wasn't too pretty around here, but one of these days I'm gonna look through. I think I lost a bunch of files during a computer crash one time, so really don't have all that stuff. That's Vlad and his family and pretty wife. And that's us taking the ferry. So I'll see if I have any other memorable pictures of anything to look at, which this is just all on my Google Drive. Some pictures in the winter. Now, some of this isn't much here, much snow really, but in the really depths of the winter, the snow was piled up at least sometimes 10, 15 feet high. And actually to get to some of these doorways, they had to dig out the snow because it was higher than the doorway. So they're constantly digging out snow in the winter. So let me see what else I might have here. Let's see, back to Russia trip.
So you guys were talking about audience participation in this. I had a similar experience of driving on the river. I was doing a job at the GE large motor facility in Erie, Pennsylvania in the winter.
Mhm.
And they volunteered to take me out to lunch, which I was a customer, so I was happy to go.
Yeah.
And they were driving along and headed toward the restaurant. We had lunch and said, well, we'll do one other thing while we're here. And they drove over to this little park and then right down the boat ramp and right out onto Lake Erie. And we drove out to this little fishing hut. It was maybe, I don't know, 100 yards offshore. And we all got out and we went in and looked at how you ice fish on Lake Erie in the winter, got a good tour of the facility, and then we went back to work.
Yeah. Absolutely amazing. I mean, can't answer him. So like I say, I made 4 trips out there. I was able to get licensed from, there's a guy in Moscow. He's a pretty famous guy, but of course I don't remember shit anymore. Sorry. But he got me licensed not only for Siberia, but also an R3 call, which I could have used in Moscow had I ever had the chance to operate. I mean, I spent some time in Moscow, but mostly sightseeing and things like that. So I didn't have any chance really to operate in Moscow. Now, I also spent some time, sorry, I don't have any pictures. Well, I do have some pictures of Sakhalin here somewhere. I spent some time on Sakhalin, one picture. Great. Sorry. This is not going to be a great presentation, and I'm sorry that I just don't have pictures. But I spent some time on Sakhalin Island. I did meet up with a bunch of hams there. I went to the Sakhalin QSL Bureau, which was interesting. It was up on the top floor of a education and science building. We went out, spent a lot of time together with the hams. I got stuck in Yuzhno because I overstayed my visa, and probably not a good idea. I can tell you to overstay your visa in a foreign country. I remember when I was leaving, I was about 3 days past my visa date, which I didn't realize that the visa date started on the day it was issued. It was only a 30-day visa. The started on the day it was issued, not the day you arrived. I was working for ExxonMobil at the time. The Exxon guy kept asking me to stay a few more days over and over and over again. And by the time I was ready to leave, I got to the window and handed the lady my passport. And she said in perfect English, "You're not going anywhere today." And she's like, snapped her fingers a few times. A couple of guards showed up, escorted me into a room where I got interrogated for a while. I was released on my own recognizance, called Exxon. They got me a translator. I had to go to a number of other interrogation meetings, pay a few fines here and there, which totaled about $80, paid it out of my pocket. And on the final day, the final meeting, they said they'll issue me an exit visa in 20 working days. And I said, that's a month. So, I mean, I'll tell you guys the whole story later, but I ended up with getting 2 exit visas eventually because Emerson, I was working for Emerson, actually directly for Emerson, and they got me a visa out of Moscow. But anyway, another thing, lots and lots of stories about overseas. I don't know how many of you guys have worked overseas. I know some of you guys have, but
Yeah.
but you know, there's a million stories you can tell about that. So I also went to Chad, and I will say once again, I don't have any pictures of ham radio operations or antennas in Chad. Now there's a Chad Christmas tree, in case you're wondering what that was. And so I've just got a bunch of pictures of people, and you can see, I guess I was a little bit better shape then, still a little bit of a tummy, but you can see it was bright. I mean, there's some of the equipment I was working on, electrical equipment. What I really want to show you here is some of the lightning protection that they used over there. But actually talk about my extensive ham radio operation in Chad. Now I was in contact with a guy. There's lightning protection over this stack right here. I was in contact with a guy that turned out to be the security manager of the facility. He was a French citizen. And so he had a French call, which of course I don't remember, but he also knew the Minister of Communications directly, personally. So I don't remember who got me in touch with this guy, but when I arrived and we went through our orientation, he walked in the room and he called out for my name, and everyone thought, oh shit, this guy's going to get thrown out of the country already. But anyhow, we went aside and we talked a while, and I gave him some money, or I can't remember, some application. And he went to the Minister of Communications, got me a license, but I didn't have a radio. So he ends up giving me or loaning me a radio, which was channelized, and all the frequencies were like 7040, 7045, 7050, single sideband. But still I had no antenna. So I'm sitting in the room. Every once in a while I would go to his office, and he had a dipole, and I would make a few contacts in Europe, mostly Europeans. And that was about it. It's about all I could do. And then one night he says, we're going to go over to another camp where I have a better radio. And so I said, well, can we program it differently? He says, yeah, just tell me what frequencies you want. So I gave him some frequencies, in the sideband portion of 20 meters. And I went over there and I made 50. I had a big pileup on me. I called CQ. My call was Tango 8 X-ray Zulu. I made, I got on there, called CQ. I had a big pileup on me of mostly Americans because it was just the right time. I worked exactly 50 contacts, and the guy said, okay, time to go.
Oh, gee.
And that was it. That was the extent of my Chad operation, my Chad de-expedition, 50 contacts.
Wow.
So I printed out 50 cards, and let me get to some other pictures here. I printed out 50 cards and I sent it to everybody. And one guy came back and said the Bureau wasn't accepting it because I hadn't sent the ARRL wasn't accepting it. And so I had my license, so I sent the license and a copy of my passport, and sure enough, they accredited it, and I was good. So, I was working on fire alarm systems. This is all fire alarm system stuff here. I know it's all probably boring to you, but somewhere along here, I've got some pictures of some lightning protection. You can see everybody's pretty poor. I mean, that's the way things are in Chad. There's the Phoenix bar, in case you guys want to drink. So one of the things they had in Chad was you couldn't drink. It was an ExxonMobil facility. It's Esso, actually. You could not drink on site But if you knew where, there was a little door on the gate. There was a gate on the fence, rather. And you go through that gate and you go through this really narrow corridor, and then you end up at this other bar. I don't know if I got pictures of it, but basically you go there to drink, and you can drink and drink and drink all you want. And a lot of people did. So there's some more lightning protection, a lot of trees.
And that was part of the SO facility?
Yeah, it was just outside the SO facility.
Okay.
So since it wasn't part of the SO facility, you could drink there. And, you know, but like I say, they had a gate that you could get out. So here's some more lightning protection. And they had this on all the buildings. And they had all this, this is all, you know, the edges and corners of all the buildings. You can see they're all over the place. It turns out what I was told is that Chad is the lightning capital of the world for 3 months out of the year. It's even more than Florida. And there was some place in South America, I believe, that was high in lightning. But I was told, whether it's true or not, that Chad was #1 for 3 months during the rainy season. And so therefore you can see here's some more lightning protection. All these stacks, all these towers, everything had just tons and tons of lightning protection. Now, you guys, I don't know how well you can see this, but the theory behind this kind of stuff, and they look like porcupines, it's just a bunch of needles kind of hanging out, is that this isn't really there to attract lightning so much, but just to discharge the static in the air. And that reduces the likelihood of lightning striking this stuff. And I mean, you could buy the stuff here. I think Harger Electric and a few other outfits that specialize in lightning protection will sell that stuff to you. It's real expensive. You can kind of make your own if you want. But it's real expensive to get all that kind of stuff.
We installed something similar to that in one of the refineries in Texas City.
And I've seen it in a lot of other places and in a lot of lightning protection catalogs. I'm not sure how many more pictures of this, but I had some pictures of this. These are power lines, and on the power lines, they had a separate pole, and that's the ground wire or the lightning protection wire that was above the power lines, but they actually put it on a separate support. Here's some more of that stuff. I mean, it was just anything that was high. That may be it. That was a lot of my equipment that I inspected and installed and was in charge of. This is the camp. I stayed in one of these things. You see all the ground, the dirt's real red over there. The catering staff here was French, so the food was exquisite. It was really great, especially the desserts. So, but we walked so much, nobody gained any weight.
Is there any unrest in Chad at the time?
No, not that I'm aware of. Might have been, but you know, I was just young and dumb enough and fully, you know what, I won't say here, that I didn't really care. You know, another one of my trips, which I made about 5 trips to, was to Angola. And the trips that I made to Angola were actually in the middle of the Civil War.
Wow.
And the interesting thing was, it was a Chevron facility, or actually it was Gulf. It's called Gulf Cabinda, Angola, Cabgok. Now it's Chevron. This camp was 2 miles by 2 miles. I didn't operate there, by the way. They had a 150-foot tower. They had ICOM 735s everywhere. That's what they use for communication, ICOM 735s. I wanted to get on one of those things so bad, but at the time, ham radio was outlawed. But this camp was 2 miles by 2 miles. It was surrounded. You guys will love this. Those of you who I haven't told this to before. This camp was surrounded by landmines and Cuban troops. Now, the Cuban troops, and there were Russian trawlers out in the ocean. The Cuban troops were there to protect an American company, which was Gulf and later on Chevron, from the American-backed rebels. And
Get your mind around that.
and they told us, they gave us orientation, and there were signs you could, drive around the camp. They even gave me a vehicle to drive around. They say, you see those signs that say, don't go beyond this point. Don't go beyond that point, because the Cuban troops will shoot you. And he was dead serious about that. So I never tried, but at night, those Cubans, they all got drunk and they all be shooting their AK-47s up in the air. It was quite interesting. Now, I don't know what else I'm going to see here to show you. There might be, those are flame detectors, by the way, some part of the system that I worked on. I see a lot of electrical stuff and instrumentation I was working on out there. I did not work on the lightning protection system. So, but what was I going to say? Oh, one time when I was leaving Chad, well, I don't want to do that. When I was leaving Chad, our flight got delayed, and there was no more flights that evening. The safe house, and I repeat, safe house, was full. So they had to put me and another guy in a hotel in downtown Luanda. And there was gunfire all night long. And let me tell you, that was a scary night. When you fly into Chad, you fly into N'Djamena, and here are just some pictures of N'Djamena. And you can see it was pretty poor back then, but these are some of the sights that I saw when I was out there. Everything, any kind of type of facility had all this fencing around it. You couldn't get in, had armed guards at all gates. Don't even know what that is. But when we were driving around, we saw some of this stuff here. So I know I got some more pictures, but who the hell? I don't even know what's here. See if this. I don't know. Some video I was taking for some reason. I don't remember what it was. So I made a number of other trips to other places around the world. I did get a license in Korea, but I never had a chance to operate. Too busy working. Obviously, with the club called KL5DX, when I worked in Alaska for 3.5 years. Initially I was, signing KL7/N5XZ, but that really got old. So I formed a club, KL5DX, and I used that, which was a lot more successful. People like the prefix, and it's just easier to make contacts. And so I made maybe 25,000 QSOs during my 3.5 year stay in Alaska. I used to come home and it'd be stacks and stacks of mail, people who wanted the cards. I had a friend up there, Frank Hurlbutt. I can't think of his call now, but his son is Chris Hurlbutt, and his son's call is KL9A, and he's probably up there with he is up there with the top CW contesters in the world. And I met him, his dad was really good, but his son just was so much better. You know, I've seen multiple instances where he'll go on operate a contest station on a weekend, CQ Worldwide or something like that, and make 10 to 12,000 contacts in 48 hours. Now, can you imagine? Do the math on that.
That's inhuman.
It is him and N2IC, and there's a N6. Can't think of his calls. Anyhow, I mean, it is. I don't understand. I don't know how these people do it, but you can ask Dave. Dave will give you some insight on that kind of stuff. You know, when you're up 48 hours without sleep, and they stay up 40, I don't know what they do about pissing and shitting, but when they're up 48 hours without sleep, Dave will tell you that you actually will be hallucinating during maybe the last 6 hours of the contest.
Wow. Does
Now-
that make you faster?
I don't know. Maybe it makes you imagine QSOs. I don't know. But I don't know. I'm sure I got more pictures here, but who the hell knows where they are. And I apologize that this is such a crappy format.
Well,
But,
I have to admit that I imposed on you at the last minute to do this, so I appreciate you doing it.
Well, and I couldn't find a whole. I'm sure I have more pictures somewhere. So I did meet some hams in Korea, and so that was interesting. I had dinner with them. As I mentioned, when I was in Angola, I don't know if I met any hams, but a lot of communication people. They had a big, huge tower that if I only had the chance. I also met hams in a number of other countries. In Portugal, there was a ham that I was communicating with in Portugal, and I used to fly through Portugal to go to Angola. And so I met him in Lisbon. He actually wanted me to buy a paddle, a Keir paddle, a bencher for him, which I did, and I hand carried the bencher paddle to him. And so we had a great time there. And early on, I made a lot of trips to India, and in this platform that I was working at, there were some Sailor radios up on the top level, and a self-tuning vertical up on the top of the platform. It's probably 150 feet over the water, something like that. Well, I'll admit to you, because I think it's we're beyond the statute of limitations that I actually did operate. That was probably back in the 80s or 90s that I got on there. It was a sideband only radio called Sailor. I think it was 150 watts, self-tuning, auto-tuning. The antenna was auto-tuning. And so I signed VU/WB5BIR, which was my old call. And boy, did I make a lot of QSOs. Did I have some pileups on me? I'd go up there every night after work, after I ate dinner. I'd go up there and I just call CQ and just work the out of the bands. Lots of Russians and lots of Indonesians primarily. Don't know why. So anyway, that's I did lots of other travel in other parts of the world. No other real ham radio operation, but I mean, there's a lot of stories I could tell about some of my experiences, especially getting through customs and things like that. I never took a radio with me because I never had a license in hand when I went to any country. I take that back. When I went to Russia, I had a license, but I never felt comfortable taking a radio with me because I didn't know if I'd get it in. I didn't know if I'd get it out. So I just never took the chance. But luckily, I got hooked up with various people. I met other hams in India, by the way, on some of my trips. And I will tell you, and others can attest, that ham radio is truly a worldwide fraternity. And you can go anywhere in the States or anywhere in the world, just about. If you see a ham, identify or you talk to them before you go and you meet up with them. I mean, they'll invite you to their home, buy you dinner. In the case of the Russian hams, spend the night, spend multiple nights. They'll, drink you to death over there. I mean, I really enjoyed, now I do miss worldwide travel in some ways, in other ways I don't. I'm not sure I really want to go to I know I don't want to go to some of the places that I went, because I didn't go to, in most cases, I did not go to nice places. I mainly went to, the armpits and bums of the world, because that's where they grow oil. And those of you who've been in the oil and gas industry and traveled for that, I'm sure you could identify that they don't grow oil in nice places.
How about Bangladesh?
Nah, never went there. I was close, obviously, but
Yeah, I spent a year, 1 month there.
really,
Yeah, well, I said a year, 1 month, because it just seemed like a year, but
see, I know.
it was
Well,
during like June, the rainy season there, and
Yeah.
Dhaka, and the streets were probably a foot of water, a foot and a half of water everywhere. And then we had to take a helicopter up to Sylhet, the northeastern part of the country, for there's a field up there, and it's the only way we could get there because the whole country was underwater.
wow.
But yeah, it's all armpits.
Well, I can tell you, when I went to Sakhalin Island, that's a 4-day trip to get there,
One way.
each way,
Oh wow.
4 days, because you have to fly to, from Houston to, either LA or San Francisco or something like that. Then you go to either Tokyo or Seoul. So if you go to Seoul, you fly to, you got to fly back to Japan, to one of the airports in Tokyo. If you fly to Tokyo, you got to take a bus over to a different airport. Then you got to fly to Sapporo. And you just got to spend the night there. Then you take a charter to Yuzno, and you spend the night there. And then you take a train to the camp, and the train is an overnight train. So it takes 4 days each way to get
Wow.
there. And and then once you get to the end of the train, then you take a helicopter to the facility. And a lot of places where I was offshore, lots of helicopters. One of the scariest rides I ever took on in Bombay was a Russian helicopter going to offshore, which is about 200 miles offshore. And I've spent as long as 11 weeks on an offshore platform. And that's, with very few English speaking people, crap food most of the time, lost a lot of weight. However, I will tell you that they were serving us like mystery meat and this and that and who knows what, and an apple and a beer with every meal. So sometimes you just wouldn't eat it. Us Westerners just wouldn't eat it. And then one day they come out with lobster. And it was all the lobster you could eat for 5 days.
Wow.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Man, I have a lot of lobster.
Yeah.
So, and let me tell you, when I was in Angola, the catering staff in Angola was a Portuguese catering staff. And as good as the food was in Chad, it was even better in Angola. It was truly 5-star food every night. It was top of the line food. They also had a barbecue pit, and every night was a different steak. One night it would be T-bone, next night it'd be ribeye, next night it'd be a filet, next night it'd be this, that, and the other. I think they had chicken one night. Nobody ever showed up. And it was just great. And then I managed to, or I had to actually stay over a holiday, Christmas and New Year's. Now those guys threw some incredible parties, and the booze that they had was so good that you could get drunk off your butt, and the next day no hangover. Anyway. don't know if you can see this. It looks like it's backwards. I don't know. Is it backwards?
No, no. It's right.
It's right. It looks
Yes.
backwards to me. This is my card from Siberia. And like I say, I still got a bunch of these. I made up this card myself. It's basically a map out of Google Maps or Google Earth or something like that. And I don't know if you can see very well. I should have scanned this. Where that star is, it's Langi Pass. And that's where I operated from. And just across the river, I know you can't read it. Over here is La Kosovo. Now, La Kosovo is a prison town. So there are several prisons around there, but there's also a regular city, right? And the coldest temperature that they recorded while I was there was -45. And, you know, for those of you who haven't been in really cold temperatures, the water in your nostrils freeze. You got to put on a whole lot of cold weather gear. But if you got the right cold weather gear, you know, it's kind of fun. It's like you're in space, right? You know, it's incredible when you think about you're walking out there in -45-degree weather and you're actually comfortable. And I
You
still have
yours?
I still have all my cold weather gear, both from Russia and from Alaska, including some boots. And the boots that I have are actually rated in 3 different ways: standing, slow walking, and brisk walking. So standing, if I remember correctly, it was rated for 0 degrees. Slow walking, it was like -40, and brisk walking, it actually said -125.
Oh my God.
So where in the hell are you going to have -125, right? And they had removable liners. So, you know, when you come in, you can pull the liner out, stick it on the radiator to dry it off. Cause you know, they get things like that get sweaty.
Yeah.
So when you're walking around, even -45, your boots,
Wow.
your feet get sweaty.
Wow.
Oh, and so here's my QSL card from Chad. And I just printed these out. I mean, there wasn't enough, I didn't make enough contacts to order any. So it wasn't worth the trouble. So I printed them out, sent them out, like I said, to everyone I worked.
Yeah.
So that was that. And it was an experience. I wished I could have put up an antenna in Chad, or, you know, done some more operating. But, you know, when you go to these places, primarily you're there to work. Luckily, when I was in Siberia, it was a little bit looser kind of a setup out there. And, you know, I actually, you know, I just said, I'm taking off this weekend. And
Well, how did you get connected up with those guys there in Siberia?
there was the guy in, you know, every once in a while I run across him. There was a guy in Moscow who I contacted who helped get me licensed. And he got me 2 licenses, one for Siberia and one for Moscow, or one R9 and one R3. And Andrew, anyhow, he runs a communication, or he did. He ran a communication company in Moscow, and, you know, well connected. Probably ARRL connected me with him. He got me my licenses, and then I sent him an email one day and I said, hey, I'm here. Cause I had an email. Everything was was back then, you know, there was no internet. So everything was over the phone lines. So, you know, 9600, you know, 13.8 or whatever. But I got on, I sent the guy an email. I said, can you connect me up with some hams over here in this area? And so he sent me the guy, you know, RA9JP, sent me his information and his phone number, because I had a phone in the facility. So I just gave him a call, or maybe he called me. Hell, I don't remember. It's been 20 years. And so they drove all the way out, picked me up, drove me back a couple of times. It was just super friendly guys.
Plied you with vodka and beer, huh?
Well, they have a custom over there. If you sit down at a table with a bottle of vodka, and if you take the cap off and you throw the cap over your shoulder, nobody can leave the table until the bottle is empty.
Jeez.
So
Oh my God.
pass it around and around and around. And then he also, when he went to get beer, he just had gallon jugs, look like milk jugs. And he'd go down the street, they just fill up his gallon jug, bring it back, keep it in the fridge.
Wow.
So it was really good experience. A lot of really nice people. Most of them didn't speak much English, but again, we knew Morse code. So what the hell?
Cool.
I wish I had more pictures, and I know I do somewhere, but what can I say? I'm negligent on that. I got lots of other stories about the travels, about going through customs and paying bribes and, getting hung up in Bombay one time, and they confiscated all my belongings except my personal belongings, and I couldn't go offshore, and I was in a hotel for like 10 days, just waiting for them, twiddling my thumbs.
Mhm.
'Cause,
Yeah,
you
my
know,
only visa story was working for Unical for a bunch of years, and going to China. They always would get my visa for me. They take my
Mhm.
passport, get the visa. Okay. Well, soon after I got laid off in 2000, I got a week-long job going out to a place called Bengbu in East Central China to look at a geophysical uh, exploration technique that the Geophysical Institute had come up with. Anyway, so I was taking a United flight. Then I got out there, checked in for the flight, got on the plane, took off. About halfway across the Pacific, I realized I don't have a visa for China. They'd always done it for me before, so I never really thought about it. So I told the stew about it, and they had a United representative meet me at the airplane when I got off. He walked me down to this little window, a little office, and I got to sit on the floor out front for about 4 hours while they located the guy I was supposed to be meeting with for the week who could write me a recommendation letter to get into the country. And I think it cost me, this was in 2000, it cost me like $100 or $150 for that visa. But
Mhm.
they could have just turned me around and put me back on the plane and said, go. So,
Well, I thought I lost my passport once in Mexico City, and I was frantic, and turned out my passport was wedged inside something in my briefcase.
mhm.
I had a couple of kind of unusual flight situations. Normally, when you fly to Mexico City, or at least when I did back then, the plane would take this slight jog to the left and then a slight jog to the right, and you'd land. Well, this time it's like, hey, what the fuck's going on? And then what the hell? And 2 weeks later, my wife says, did you hear about that near miss in Mexico City about 2 weeks ago? So I don't know if that's what happened, but and then there was a time I was landing in Alexandria, Egypt on a 747. And so we're coming in for the landing. Pilot didn't say a thing, and all of a sudden it's going wham! Man, that thing hit the ground. I mean, your teeth about came out of your mouth. And when we came to a stop, he says, well, I apologize for that landing, but the long runway was out of commission. I had to land on the short runway, and to slow down my speed, I had to hit hard.
Wow. It's the first time I flew into Hong Kong, the old airport, and the approach.
Oh, the
path.
old airport, yeah.
Yeah, where you go down and you go down and go down. There's a mountain in front of you, so you get down to the end and you make a hard turn to the right to land. And it was raining and low visibility. I was looking off to the side, so it's a 747. Looking out of the windows of the sides, I'm seeing that we're below the level of some of the high rises, some of the big apartment things. What's going on? So finally we get down there, make the turn, At about the time it makes a turn, he put the pedal to the metal and took it back up. It took us down to Macau or something as we got out the storm, but that was a real heart in the throat kind of a attempted landing.
My first flight into Hong Kong to the old airport was at one of the runways actually extended out over the water.
Mm-hmm.
You remember?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. So we're coming down and down and down, and all I see is water. You know, because normally you see something, right?
Yeah.
Some lands and buildings and runway, something, nothing but water. And that scared the you know what out of what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
yeah. I remember those
Yeah.
days.
Never been into the new airport there, but
I tell you what, I've been to the new Singapore airport. That was real nice. But I remember one time I flew into Jakarta, into the old Jakarta airport, and I had to use a bathroom, right? So found a bathroom. There's nothing but a hole in the ground.
mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, they must have taken it out for repair, right? Nope.
Get a squat.
But that's what they do there. There's
Yeah.
just a hole.
Yeah, in China, I went to a park one time by a lake, and they had a whole row of all those holes. And then there was one Western style
Yeah.
toilet at the end.
I was on an offshore platform in India, and on one side in the bathroom it was Western toilets, the other side was Eastern toilets, and the Eastern toilets basically had you could climb up on them
Mhm.
because they're used to squatting.
Yeah.
So I happened to notice that, and I was actually taking a shower. Now all of the water had air pressure behind it, and I was taking the shower, and well, you know, the water ran out, nothing but air blowing on me, right? Well, apparently, you know, there's a guy in the toilet, and that's how they washed up, you know, where.
Yeah.
And you could hear him jump.
Yeah, they keep that little can of water by the toilet. So I don't touch anybody with your left hand.
Yeah. So international travel was
Crazy stuff.
interesting.
Yeah.
I had to pay bribes from time to time getting through customs. I always got reimbursed for it. First time when I had my expense report, I had there's $100 that I had to pay. And the secretary said, what is this? Oh, it's, you know, it said customs tax or duty. I put something on there, right? She says, well, what's this? There's no receipt for it. I said, oh, that was a bribe. Oh, bribe. Oh my God, that's illegal. I don't think we can pay you for that. I said, well, you just march up the hall and talk to the boss and see if he's gonna pay me for this or not. She came back and says, yeah, we're gonna pay you. Because everybody knew the drill. You know, I had to pay some in Jakarta, I think in Korea one time.
Yeah,
I was told not to pay any in India. And Connie, you're on the camera. There she is, my wife.
Yeah.
And in Russia, now here's another cute little story. The first time I flew to Siberia, in the airport in Houston, I was told that I could check my luggage all the way through to my destination. I said, are you sure about that? Oh yeah, all the way through. So, okay. And I had this, you know, lots of luggage, all my clothes and everything. So I got to Siberia, guess what? No luggage. Because I didn't pick it up in Moscow. And I had actually had to borrow clothing because I had none except the clothing on my back and toiletries and stuff like that. So people owed me clothing, no problem. Believe it or not, all my luggage showed up a few weeks later. Now, another time I went through Moscow, I had a big Foot Locker full of spare parts and tools and test equipment and stuff like that they asked me to bring over. And it was in not a Foot Locker. It was in what do you call that? My mind's gone blank. You know, a real heavy duty containers that are waterproof and airtight.
Pelican box?
Yeah,
These
Pelican
things.
case. Yes, and I had the biggest Pelican case made, and it was full. So I fly into Moscow. So wait a minute. So I was working. I was doing the job for Solar Turbines, and I was told that I should send an email to the Solar Turbines agent in Moscow. He'd meet me at the airport. I am not to negotiate with the customs guy. He would yippity yap with him, and they do their dealings, and I guess negotiate the bribe or whatever, and then I'd go through. So I had my itinerary from my travel agent, and I sent that over to the guy, the agent in Moscow, the Solar Turbines agent. So when I'm in Frankfurt, I suddenly notice that she had moved my flight. She had moved it up, and I barely had a chance to make it. I did not have a chance to get on the computer and tell this guy that my flight had changed, that I was coming in early. So I get to Moscow, I got all my luggage. I got this big, huge Pelican case, and it would barely fit, maybe an eighth of an inch on either side through the X-ray machine. And you could see this guy's eyes. He's like, today's my day, right? So, but after it goes through, he's kind of looking around. He says, isn't there someone here to meet you? Because, he knew the trick. He knew the drill. And I gave my big sob story about my flight itinerary got changed. I'm in early. I didn't have time to tell him, et cetera, et cetera. And you could just see, oh man, he was like this. And believe it or not, he let me go through. But there had been other people who had their stuff confiscated or held up in Moscow, had to fly on to Siberia, which is another 4 or 5 hour flight, then had to fly back with another person to retrieve their luggage, and then back again. So I got real lucky that time. So, and there were a few others. There's a lot of things, a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Kind of missed some of it. I did get food poisoning on an Indian platform one time, and that wasn't any fun. So, other than that, food was mostly really good, except for that when I was on this ship called Offshore 2. It was a Korean barge off the coast of India. Hyundai was the main contractor for the platform. I'm not even going to tell you how bad the conditions were. Just everywhere. No hot water. Toilets didn't flush. You had to take a bucket, siphon water, or get water out of the shower to pour down the toilets. Conditions were horrendous. I won't tell you what the bathrooms were like, but I managed to make it through. So
Yeah, when I was in that town in eastern China, Bungbu, it was in the middle of winter.
mhm.
They put me in the executive suite at this hotel, which meant I had a room that had a heater in it, a combination
bath-
heater and air conditioning. It had a bathroom, but
Oh, did it? Okay.
But it didn't have put on much heat. So what happened is you get this interface between the cold air, the hot air coming from the air conditioner heater unit, and the cold where the bathroom was. And there was this line of those pink slime or something where sort of the
Yeah. Terrible.
terrible stuff. Yeah.
And how about all the immunizations you had to take?
Yeah.
Man, sometimes I go into Kelsey Seabold to get three shots in this arm and 2 shots in this arm, and luckily they didn't affect me much. But I know people that, big old husky guys, they'd pass out from some of the immunizations.
Yeah, you get your yellow card there with all the lines
Yep.
full of stuff.
Yellow fever, smallpox, pills for malaria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Luckily, to the best of my knowledge, I never caught anything.
Yeah. I never got sick on anything I ate. Went all over
Mhm.
China with little old towns in the south where they'll eat anything. The
Mhm.
Cantonese.
Mhm.
had Cobra. Oh, that was just a good story. We had a guide. We were driving through southern China, and we were looking for business opportunities. Anyway, so this guide had picked up a cold. So we're driving down the road, and we stopped off at this restaurant, which there was no power in it. They just had a hurricane come through or something like that. So, but they were open for business. So we went in there, and he was going to get something for his cold. So come to find out, it was a Cobra restaurant. That was their specialty. And so we got seated around a table, and this guy brings out a Cobra, live Cobra. And it's, and our guy said, no, not big enough. So he takes that back, brings the bigger one out. It's so wriggling around. He says, okay, yeah, that one. So they took it off, and they dispatched it. And the next thing happened is they brought these little decanters, one with the blood and one with the bile. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to drink a little blood and a little bile, and that brings it into balance, your hot and cold humors or whatever. But luckily, what you did is you put it in wine, which killed the microbes. But we all tried it, didn't get sick. For Unicom, they'd have somebody in Vietnam who just took the blood, the bile straight. He picked up a terrible parasite from the blood. But yeah, strange things. Fried bees and
Yeah,
ant patties and all kinds of interesting stuff.
some little bow wow and meow too, I bet. I'm
You didn't
sure.
ask after a while, just ate it.
No, I probably had some of that stuff, just don't know it.
Yeah.
Tastes like chicken. Anyhow, I don't really have too many more stories, but yeah, that's those are a few pictures, and if I find some more pictures somewhere, which I probably have some actual photographs that I could scan, and if I find any more pictures on hard drives, I have some other old hard drives that are in the closet. I could probably look on them and see what I might find, and who knows what I'll find, but I just don't get around to it. So one of these days I will.
Yeah, well, if you do, that'd be great. Well,
Okay.
thank you for the presentation.
Yeah,
You're
that was
welcome.
really interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
So I think my days of international travel are over.
Yeah, me
but,
too.
You know,
But it was fun.
it was very interesting, and I'm amazed sometimes that I even got through it all in some cases. But when you go overseas, you do these trips, and as bad as the conditions are sometimes, you just kind of you put on your blinders, you do your job. And one thing about overseas work and overseas travel is generally it pays really well.
Yeah.
And so it's just
But-
like every day I just count up the money I made that day and say, well, it's worth it.
But the other thing you'll learn is that wherever you go in the world, people are generally just people.
Yeah, most of the time.
There's no reason to be bad to you, and they generally are nice and helpful and friendly.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, yeah, you go to different places, people look different. Southeast Asia, Africa. But one thing that kind of that blew me away more than anything was when I went to Russia, and they all look like Americans. They look like us.
They want to wear our jeans and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah. They that's right. They wore American clothes. Obviously they couldn't talk, but like us, but they look like us. I was thinking, where the hell am I? So that probably was more of a mind blower than seeing, because you go to other countries and you expect them to look different, and they do.
Yeah.
I guess the only place that was kind of now Sakhalin Island, just an FYI, has been claimed by Japan. Japan at one time had possession of it. And Japan used to bring Koreans,
Mhm.
Korean women there during the wars as concubines. And so you'll find on Cyclone Island a lot of people that look Asian, you know, Oriental Asian, and in some cases have half Korean, half Russian names.
Hmm.
Because of how many Koreans the Japanese brought there. Now, they did have a program at one point where you could repatriate, or they could repatriate back to Korea. But obviously, some of them say, well, hey, I was born here. This is my home. I'm not going anywhere. So it's just interesting how many, like there was one, there was a lot of them that had, you know, a Russian and a Korean name, or a Korean and a Russian name. So, and they're, you know.
Was a recent blurb in something that I read about the comfort women, and the Japanese were in the process of trying to scrape up enough money to pay some of these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That was that was a different world back then, but
Yeah, well.
never been to China. Never been to Nigeria. I had a chance once to go to Nigeria, and they wouldn't pay me what I demanded.
Hmm.
And I had a chance to go to Tunisia one time, and I just turned it down. I think it was just too dangerous.
Yeah.
Um,
I did a lot of travel to China for over about a 6 or 7 year period.
mhm.
Go there for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and I used to say I've been more places in China than most Chinese have.
Well, I've been in more countries than states.
Wow.
Southeast Asia was a lot of fun. Egypt, I made a couple trips to Alexandria. That was really interesting. They had an American, like, not really a bar, but it was more like a retreat or something like that. So, and I stayed in a nice hotel every night. Stayed in a nice hotel. This is one of the nicer trips. Stayed in a nice hotel every night, like a 3-star hotel. Every morning we drive out to the heliport. We fly out to the platform, fly back in the evening, go back to the hotel.
Hmm.
Now, I spent some time in Venezuela, and in Venezuela, it was a town called Ojeda, which is across the Lake Maracaibo from Maracaibo, I guess. And so we would get on a boat. So I was living in an apartment there. We'd get on a boat, and we'd take the boat out to the platform. We work all day, take the boat back. One day the weather was a little bit rough. We're heading out to the platform. There were funnel clouds on both sides. You look on funnel clouds.
Damn.
We're right between 2 funnel clouds. And the seas were so rough, you could not sit in your seat. You had to stand up, hold the top of the ceiling, like, you know, you'd be standing up. Hold on. You'd be standing up like this, and you'd be like doing this because the boat's doing this.
Jeez.
And then the captain announced he was lost. So he says, well, I'm going to turn the boat around. I'm going to head back to shore, back to the beach. So we headed back to the beach. And about the time we got back to the beach, he said, well, the weather's cleared up. We can head back out to the platform now. So we got there about lunchtime.
Oh,
So
gee.
it's a half a day work. And I remember on that, there was no easy way to actually get onto the platform. They had a rope, and you had to get out on the deck of the boat. You had to swing from the boat to the platform and back, like Tarzan. That's how you got on and off the platform.
Wow.
Most of the time, it was either you'd fly, come in on a a helicopter, which a helicopter back, people, helicopters are novel for a lot of people, but back then, especially in Indonesia, it was like calling a cab. Go from platform to platform, get on the radio. I got to go here. How many of you have been on a Billy Pew?
Oh, what?
A Billy Pew. Do you know what a Billy Pew is?
I do not.
Smelly?
No, hold on. Let me share my screen. Hold on. So let me show you what a Billy Pew is. If I can figure out what the hell I'm doing here.
I got to go to Yemen once,
Yeah.
the Sana'a in Yemen.
Shoot. Hold on 1 second. So I don't want to go maps. All right, so Billy Pew. That's
Oh,
these.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I've been on those. I didn't realize the name.
Yeah.
We just called them a basket.
Yeah.
Me too.
So, whoops, the hell am I doing here? Shit, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Anyway, I've been on a ton of these things, and you got to know when to get on and when to get off, because there was a time when I was on one of these things, they were lifting me from one boat over a second boat to a third boat. Now, boats, they do a lot of up and down, right? So you got a guy on a radio on boat number 3 telling the crane operator on boat number 1, go up, down, left, right, whatever. And so when I got over to boat number 3, I don't know, I had this feeling, man, I grabbed my crap and I jumped off that thing. And just as boat number 1 was going up, boat number 3 was going down. And so as soon as I got off that thing, that thing shot up in the air at 100 miles, seemed like 100 miles an hour. I don't know how fast it was, but they can be very dangerous. You get caught on there, you get your foot caught in there, you put all your junk in the middle, you ride on the outside. Sometimes you're 100, 150 feet in the air over the water. And you just better hope that thing don't break. The rope don't break. So, been on a ton of those things.
Gentlemen, I got to take my medication and go to bed.
Yeah.
It has been extremely informative, Alan. Thoroughly
Yeah,
enjoyed
it's been
it.
fun.
Thank you very much.
I know it hadn't been as much ham radio as, theoretically could have been, but
I get ham radio every day.
that's right.
Okay.
Hope
You
you all
guys be
enjoyed.
good.
And I got a few more stories, but I won't go into it now. So I'll talk to you guys later. I got to go too.
okay. Thanks. Thanks
Thanks
guys.
a lot.
All
Look
right,
forward
good
to the
night.
next lunch meeting that we're going to have soon.
Yeah. Next was the 10th.
September the 10th.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
See you
Cool.
guys on the air. Texas Kiso party. Membership.
And
Officers.
our officers are next elections or nominations for officers starts next month. Hint, hint.
Please nominate somebody or
Yeah.
yourself. Find somebody who will do something. Please.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm getting kind of stale on the newsletters. And if you guys got any articles you want to send me, it's just something to spice it up a little bit, like a autobiography or something. Even if you lie, I don't care. Just whatever. I need something for the darn bullshit. Nobody takes the hints. I keep putting in hints that I need something. No one's taking my hints.
Never do. So, did you ever get an article from Jim N5DTT about his little tower work out at his farm?
I thought it, didn't I put that in once or did I forget?
I'm not sure. I don't remember, but that was one that there were three of us that went out there to do that tower job, and he was supposed to put something. He put something together. I critiqued it, and I don't remember past that point.
I don't remember seeing it.
Well, maybe I completely forgot and maybe he forgot.
Might touch base with him and see if he ever finished it.
No, I think he sent it to me. I'll have to look through.
Well, it's a little bit different, and he did have some photos of some of the work that we did, and that kind of stuff. So it was. I thought it would be of some interest.
Yeah, I got a bunch of his articles here, and I have a folder in tower repair article. There it is. Back in May.
I think that's about the right time frame.
Yeah. There it is. Have pictures in here, maybe? Yeah. Maybe I forgot. Okay, well now y'all have seen it.
So what was really neat about that was his method of raising that tower. He found a wrecker driver, as you saw the wrecker there, that would come work with him, and that made short work of pulling that 60-foot tower to vertical.
Yeah. Huh. Well, if I forgot to, I'll put it in the next bullsheet. There's a record driver right there.
Cool. Was that GZR?
So there was myself, GZR, and N5DTT with
Yeah.
Jim were the three guys that were there.
I thought I recognized that profile.
I don't think that's Jim climbing. I think that's.
No, it's Jim
I
there,
don't
though.
think that's Rick climbing. I think that's Jim.
Yeah.
I think he did all the climbing. And see the color shirt. Rick, the GZR's got on a white shirt,
Yeah.
and Jim's got on the orange shirt.
Yeah, I just saw the picture on the right there with the hat on that looked like GZR. Okay.
Can y'all speed read?
No.
Now you know all about it. Okay.
Okay,
I'll put it in the next bullsheet.
great. Good
Hey
night, all.
guys. See y'all later.
Thanks for
Thanks a
stopping
lot.
by.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you.